my lovely fellow adopters or would-be potential adopters. My name is Nyree and I'm running an adoption support type channel. So if you think that could be interesting for you, then please take the time to subscribe. And today we're going to talk about the dreaded home visit if you're preparing for adoption. And I'm going to take you through a few points, things that I remember based on my experiences. So everybody I know will be different. So the first thing to say, make sure that you don't have any interruptions, neighbours calling, dogs barking, so you can fully concentrate on meeting the needs of your social worker and showing them around your house. People often ask, what is clean enough for being an adopter? And actually that's a question asked for foster carers too. How clean should my house be? Make sure it's not too cluttered so that there's free walkways around your house and there's not piles of stuff everywhere. Clean enough. Is it hygienic? So do you have leftover food on the side, in the fridge? Is your pet accommodated properly? Is there an area for your pet where your pet is fed, etc.? So make sure it's hygienic and make sure it's not too cluttered and it's relatively tidy, because you don't want a social worker coming in and they know that you're ready for the visit and actually to somebody outside it looks untidy or unclean. My second point is, look at your garden and make sure that it's fenced adequately and that the child couldn't potentially get out anywhere. And also make sure there's nothing like uncovered water, a drop, a slope that they could drop down off of, or open steps that they could fall off of. And sometimes pets cannot be stopped from pooping outside. Make sure you've picked up all the poop before the social worker arrives. Where are the children going to sleep? Now this can cause some adopters problems if you have an unusual layout of house. Before we started fostering, we actually did have a really unusual layout of house where we were downstairs and the children were upstairs. And thinking about it, that would have been very difficult for fostering or adoption. It's not impossible to be on a different floor from your child, but I do think that you need to give that some thought, because in the middle of the night, how are you going to get to them quickly if they need you, if they're poorly? And in regards to the bedroom, it just needs to be big enough to fit a bed and some of their possessions in. It doesn't need to be bigger than a box room necessarily, but it does need adequate ventilation and lighting and somewhere for them to put their clothes. All of your kitchen cupboards probably should have child locks on. However, it might be that you concentrate on the cupboards where you know there could be things that children could get hold of. So I'm not just thinking about products that might be dangerous. It's probably better if you have a separate cupboard that's out of reach for all your cleaning products. So I'm thinking about when you have a toddler, they just go and pull all your saucepans out. Think about the layout of your kitchen and how you're going to prevent a younger child, if you're having a younger child, from pulling stuff out and accessing stuff. And that then moves me on to medicines and sharp objects. Medicines need to be out of reach, and think about what we might mean by medicines. So it's kind of really any product that might help your health that a child shouldn't get hold of. So think a bit more widely than your actual pills and potions. Clearly, if you're adopting a 7-year-old, it's different than if you're adopting a 2-year-old, but you need to think about washing products and hair and shampoos also need to be out of reach. Sharp objects, which I'm sure you would know. So knives, make sure they're in a safe place. And also things that you wouldn't think of really, like tweezers and nail scissors and shavers. It might be that you have a little rearrange of your house so that when that social worker comes, you're super duper confident that you thought of everything. In reality, when you adopt your child, and we were adopting our boys when they were older because we'd had them as foster children, there were lots of things that we didn't need to do and didn't need to put away for them, but a social worker will want to know that you've thought these things through. You're going to need to be doing regular checks on gas and electricity. Now, in the UK, that's like a 5-yearly electrical test and an annual gas safety check, and making sure that your smoke alarms are all functioning and that you have batteries and that they do go off when you burn the toast, that type of thing. The layout of your kitchen again and your oven. Now we have a built-in oven so that when we open the door, actually a young child can't get to our oven. We used to have an open range cooker, which was beautiful. It was in a different house. And that could have caused us a few problems if we had a toddler that could access the top. Can a young child access the top of a cooker? If the answer to that's yes, then you need to put some sort of guard on the cooker. Same with your fire. If you have a beautiful open fire or some way that a child could actually get their fingers in a fire, a guard around your fire. These things sound obvious, but if you don't have young children in the house, sometimes things are not obvious, are they? But if you have collections of things and ornaments and things that you love, where they're going to go, because again, I don't think a social worker would want to see a collection of ornaments, glass or ceramic, accessible to the children. So it doesn't mean to say that you have to put them out of sight, but think about the height of a toddler or a young child and putting them somewhere where they can't get to them. Tables which have sharp edges and glass tables, and think about the edging things that you can put around those tables. And also doors, how they open and close, where there's the potential for a child to get their fingers trapped in the inside of a door. You can get some strips that you can put on the inside of doors to stop fingers being trapped. Patio doors or bifold doors that could slam shut on children. This might not be something necessarily that a social worker will look for on the home visit, but I highly recommend you have a think about the way your doors open and shut and putting some safety measures in place if you're having a young child. When it comes to fire safety, they'll want to know that your system works, whatever system that is, and it can just be obviously a domestic system, but they will most likely ask for a fire blanket and make sure that you have a fire extinguisher working and nearby, and that everybody knows where that is. It's worth thinking about what you would do in the event of a fire and knowing that for yourself. Some of this is about pleasing a social worker, isn't it? And some of it is about you feeling satisfied that you've covered all bases when a child who hasn't been there is coming to live in your home. If you haven't had a young child in your house before, it might be worth going to visit someone who looks after a child around about the age that you have asked to be matched for, and watch how that child functions and how it is with children in houses and gardens, and then go back and have a look at your house and think, is there any changes that I need to make? Because it's worth making the changes before the child comes so that you're not backpedaling or backtracking. I hope this video helps you, and if you think that my channel, which is about support and advice, my stories, everything really around adoption could be useful, then please take the time to subscribe, because you will know when I'm bringing out other videos.